Coming to you from his studio in downtown San Francisco, this is the Backstage Bay Area podcast. And now, here's your host, Steve Roby.
Hey, welcome everyone. This is Backstage Bay Area, and thanks for joining us. I'm Steve Roby. Today, we're honored to welcome Dr. Eddie Henderson, trumpet master, band leader, and one of the great living links to the world of Miles Davis. Raised in San Francisco, Eddie Henderson found his voice during a time when Miles was transforming jazz, and he went on to establish a significant career of his own, including his renowned work with Herbie Hancock's Mwandishi band. Now he's part of SF Jazz's Miles Davis Tribute, a program that revisits Miles' acoustic years and the revolutionary music that changed jazz history. Dr. Henderson, welcome to Backstage Bay Area.
Believe me, it's my pleasure being here.
Yeah.
And any contact with the Bay Area touches my heartstrings because I lived there from age 14 and effectively up until 1985.
All right. Where am I reaching you today?
I'm in New York, at home in New York. I moved back to New York in 1985.
All right. It's good to have you on the show. This upcoming SF Jazz show highlights Miles Davis's acoustic years. What strikes you most when you revisit that music today?
Well, what strikes me most is, I met Miles Davis in 1958 when he stayed at my parents' house because my stepfather was his doctor and all the other notable jazz people like Coltrane, Duke Ellington, Count Basie, Billie Holiday, and on and on and on. So when I was coming home for my trumpet lesson at the San Francisco Conservatory while I was in high school, guess who was staying at the house for 2 weeks with us? Miles Davis. You know, I had heard of his name before, but I'd heard some of his records, but he kind of skimmed off the top of my head. But so Miles Davis, after I met him that night, he took me to the gig, and in his band was John Coltrane, Cannonball Adderley, Philly Joe Jones, Paul Chambers, and Wynton Kelly. And as soon as I heard that music start up, my heartstrings lit up. The light came on in my musical being, and I thought to myself, that's what I want to do for the rest of my life. And ironically so, they were playing the music because Kind of Blue had just come out. And so they were playing that repertoire. So can you imagine the honor it is for me to be in the hot seat now, emulating him, playing that same music that I've heard all my life, and those are my roots. So it's an absolute thrill to be in that hot seat.
Having known Miles, what does it mean to you to be part of this centennial tribute?
There are no words to describe. I never thought I would be in this position because he was my superhero. I thought he was, just God, so to speak. And his drummer at that time was Jimmy Cobb. And before he passed, he did a record tribute to Miles and called me just a quartet, no other horns, just a quartet to play all the iconic tunes of Miles Davis. Jimmy Cobb's drummer, when I first met him in 1958 playing with Miles, called me to be on his record playing that music. So I looked at him, I said, man, I never dreamed I'd be in this position. He said, why not, Doc? You're the next in line. I said, whoa.
Whoa.
That answers the question. I have no vocabulary to describe how I feel and how excited I am.
I can feel it on this side too.
Right.
Why do you think this music of Miles has endured so well over the years?
Because I think it connected with, during that particular period, he was playing tunes, compositions that, If I Were a Bell, Stella by Starlight, things that the common person, Stella by Starlight is from a movie theme, Fran Dance, things like that, My Funny Valentine, the household word names musically that people could relate to during that particular time. Then he kind of stretched the envelope and started playing modal stuff like So What. He still had the audience within the palm of his hand, where they could relate to the swing and the beauty and artistry of his musical presentation.
When the Kind of Blue album came out at that time, and you were experiencing it, what was the critics' reaction? What was the audience reaction? It was kind of something different for them, right?
When you walked in and they were playing something like all blues, boom, it was like a chant. It mesmerized. This was at the Black Hall. You could hear a pin drop in the club. People were not talking, almost like hypnotized, but by the chanting over and over, repeating melody. And when Miles came in with that haunting sound, I mean, it was beyond description. So here I was 17 or 18 years old when Miles brought me in and they started playing. I said, oh my, and then John Coltrane take the next solo and Cannon. I mean, it was unreal. I get chills every time I talk about this.
I just got chills from you telling the story.
Good.
Because
it was so haunting.
Yeah.
You know? And then the beauty of Miles Davis is that people say he changed his style. When you listen to all his recordings, when he started playing, the first recording before Kind of Blue that got my attention was Sketches of Spain, around that same period with Gil Evans' beautiful orchestration. But the word really one that got my attention was Kind of Blue. Then after that, he was playing, standard tunes, Autumn Leaves and stuff like that the audience could relate to. Then then Bitches Brew came along, kind of Open Skies type of playing, where he wasn't restricted by one chord after another. It's just the interplay of sound. And then he was about to lose people. And then he changed to the hip hop and stuff.
Yeah.
And people say, well, he changed his style. No, that's not true. He didn't. If you listen to his playing was the same. He just changed the atmosphere that he placed himself in. He didn't hire Paul Chambers, Wynton Kelly, and Jimmy Cobb to play hip hop. He got the real hip hop players to play behind him. And so this sound like he changed his direction. No, he changed the atmosphere which he chose to play. So he was constantly moving ahead, trying to reinvent himself all the time. That what sets him apart from other artists. I remember one time after I started working with Herbie Hancock and then Art Blakey, Miles would come to the gig every night and sit right in front of me, staring down my throat. Imagine, talk about a hot seat. And he came back one time when I was playing with Art Blakey and said to me, he said, Eddie, you sound good, but why don't you stop trying to play the trumpet and play music? Oh, yeah. What a mouthful. He looked past the trumpet or the instrument is just the vehicle through which you play music. Most people, excellent virtuosos, they keep trying to play the instrument. They lose sight that the instrument is just the tool through which you play music. You spend lifetimes polishing the mirror of the instrument, but Miles was always looking past his nose to play music, which far supersedes playing the instrument. Absolutely. So he was trying to, and so I teach at Oberlin Conservatory Music Jazz Department, the trumpet teacher, and I tell all my students this little bit of awareness that's not written in books in school, and then that really will separate a good musician from an extraordinary musician. That intangible understanding music. You blow the instrument or bang on the instrument, but that's through your mind's eye, trying to express your inner soul through sound. And then Miles Davis was a sound freak.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was.
Oh, buddy.
Because you came up in San Francisco,
yes.
my hometown.
I love San Francisco.
Does coming back here for this Miles program make the night feel more personal for you? I know you shared one Miles' local San Francisco story. But what's it like coming back to San Francisco and playing this?
Well,
Miles?
I went to high school, the old high school in Hazen, Mechanic. Then I went to USF. Then I went to UC Berkeley undergraduate school. And so, during the times I was there from the mid-50s on and off until 1985, I loved San Francisco. But when I go back there now, because of the economic conditions, the price of living, the traffic, kind of breaks my heart.
Yeah. Same here. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I know. Since you live there, you know what I'm talking about.
So at this tribute concert, you'll be playing with drummer Lenny White, who has his own deep Miles history. What does he bring to this music that you enjoy?
Well, I met Lenny White in about 1968. I just finished medical school and was back in San Francisco during my internship at French Hospital, Geary and 6th Avenue. And I would go to the jam session, and Lenny was out there with Joe Henderson playing a club called the Both And on Divisadero and Oak, right in the corner. And I met him at a jam session. He was 18 years old then, and he had just finished recording Bitches of Brew with Miles Davis. So he was just 18 years old playing with Miles. And this is before I even joined Herbie Hancock's group. So, I've seen his growth. I mean, he's a superhuman being, magnificent artist, musical artist. And it's really a pleasure being on the bandstand with him. Somebody who actually touched me. I never played with Miles because he played trumpet.
Yeah.
but he was on the bandstand with Miles, just like Herbie Hancock and Buster Williams, who's on this upcoming thing.
Right.
And he was on Bitches Brew also.
Yeah.
And so shoulder to shoulder contact, that I'm having the opportunity to be on the bandstand with the disciples of Miles.
Yeah. You're also sharing the front line with saxophonist Javon Jackson. What do you enjoy about that musical conversation?
Well, I met Javon after I moved back to New York, and he had just joined Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers, and immediately I heard his talent. We became friends and played with him in many other different musical contexts, and it's such a pleasure. He's such a professional, perfectionist, because when I first met him, he was kind of playing, for the most part, like Joe Henderson, which is grandmaster, and he would always pick my brain about what did I think about John Coltrane. So I gave him, they're both Zen masters, but lo and behold, now Javon is playing more in the direction of Coltrane-ish, which is certainly apropos for this upcoming event of Kind of Blue.
Miles once pushed you to find your own sound. When you play his music now, how do you honor him while still sounding like Eddie Henderson?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up.
Okay.
When I first met him the first day, I'd been going to San Francisco Conservatory studying quote unquote classical music. I really wasn't that into jazz that much. So when first night, my parents told me, well, Eddie, we've been giving you all these trumpet lessons. Play something from Miles. But I'm going to say, play what? I don't know how to improvise. But I had heard sketches of Spain, and by ear, I memorized his solos. And so reluctantly, my stepfather put on the beginning record. I had my horn. So I played it with the record and had a lucky day. I didn't miss a note. Every note he played, I'm right with the record. So I walked up to him and said, yeah, well, I was feeling cocky. I said, man, how'd you like that? Here, I'm 18 years old.
Right.
He smiled and said, you sound good, but that's me. I said, oh my God. And so then he said, that's when he said, get your own sound. I said, okay, back to the drawing board. So 1 year later, he came through town, but in that and stayed at our house again. But in that interim, I found out his superhero was a trumpet player named Freddie Webster, sound, concept, style, Miles revered Freddie Webster, but not that many people know about Freddie Webster because he didn't record that much. So Miles knocks on the door, and I answered the door, so excited to see him. The first thing he says to me is, "Hey, Eddie, you still trying to sound like me?" I looked at him right in his eye and said, "You mean Freddie Webster?" His jaw dropped to the floor.
I could see it. Wow.
If you could see, I got a chill again.
Oh, man.
And he smiled and whispers to me and says, "Everybody's a thief. I just made a short-term loan." And laughed. People talk about Miles like he just dropped out of a sky in a vacuum, and all of a sudden he's got his own style. Everybody is a derivative of the people that came before him. They have their influence of their predecessors. Miles also,
Yeah.
But Ali, he loved Sugar Ray Robinson. Sugar Ray Robinson loved Joe Louis, who came before him.
It's all connected.
Yeah. Same style. You have to know where you came from before find out who you are in the present. And so I asked Miles, in terms of answering your question, I said, how do I get my own style? How do I know what to play? You close your eyes, all this beautiful music comes out. See, in those days, there was no jazz department at Juilliard School of Music,
right?
No New England Conservatory Jazz Department, no Oberlin Jazz Department. So it's hundreds of jazz schools. They didn't have that in those days. It was just by word of mouth, musicians exchanging ideas and information back and forth by word of mouth. So when I asked Miles, how do you know how to play? So he told me, learn as many licks as you can, and then scotch tape them together. So like when the baby's born, he can't talk, So the only he can do is make a sound. Well, that's the first step in playing an instrument. First, you got to know how to make a sound, and then you learn how to vocalize one sound. Then you make a simple sentence, and then scotch tape that together. You make a compound sentence. Scotch tape other licks that you learned, make a complex sentence. Then you're on the road to improvisation. Like right now, I didn't memorize what I'm going to say. I'm just, by learning vocabulary, bits and pieces, and then scotch taping them together, then you learn how to speak. Wow. It's the same concept and how to improvise. I'm improvising right now.
I'm enjoying every minute of it, too.
Right.
Well, just a quick non-musical question. What was it like having Miles Davis as a housemate?
Well, like when I first met him, I've heard of his name, but I wasn't that familiar with him musically. Once I heard his music and playing with the avatars that he played with, I just revered him. Followed him around like a little puppy dog. And I tried to walk like him, One time I got a cold, because Miles Davis' voice like that. One time I got a cold, my voice is like that. And I was really pissed when I started getting better. My normal voice started kicking back in. I wanted my voice to always sound like him. And, he was very dark-skinned. And so the place where you put the mouthpiece looked pink, but I'm light-skinned. So I wanted to get the mark just like him. So when he stayed at my parents' house, I went upstairs with a pin and stuck myself in my lip right there. Ouch. It started bleeding. I came downstairs. He looked at me and said, man, what happened to you? I said, well, I wanted my lip to look like yours. He looked at me and said, you're a dumb MFer.
Wow, what a memory.
He was a comedian.
It sure sounds like that. Well, getting back to the SF Jazz Tribute at Minor Auditorium in San Francisco, what do you hope the audience walks away with after spending their two shows, the afternoon and the evening show? What do you hope the audience walks away with this Miles Davis music?
Well, I think that the particular group that I'm playing with, we're playing music only from the Kind of Blue album. And that particular album all the tunes are so iconic, they're ingrained in the listener's ears. And then the other group is playing, I believe, is the electric band. And I don't know if that's as ingrained in the ears as much as kind of blue tunes. So the So What, flamenco sketches, all blues, Freddie the Freeloader, and Blue and Green. Those are the 5 compositions in the band that I'm playing with.
Okay. So is that what the set list will be comprised of?
Yes, those 5 too. Because we're only going to have like an hour and 20 minutes to play. It's a 3 horns and a rhythm section. That's like just taxing on the runway.
Well, let me remind our listeners, the Miles Davis tribute shows are coming up on Saturday, March 21st at SF Jazz's Minor Auditorium. You can visit sfjazz.org for tickets and more information. I would not hesitate. I looked this morning, and I believe one of the shows might be sold out and the other one's almost sold out. So
wow.
pick up your tickets today.
Now, is the kind of blue ensemble playing on both shows?
Yeah, there's an afternoon show that day and
that's right.
evening show. I believe 7:30 p.m. for the evening show, but 4 o'clock and 7:30. So you got a little rest period in between shows there.
Yeah.
Dr. Eddie Henderson, thank you again for taking the time to talk with us today.
My pleasure.
It's been
Look forward to seeing you there also, my friend.
All right. Thank you again. And Backstage will be right back after these messages.
Are you a jazz musician preparing for a run in San Francisco? The Backstage Bay Area podcast wants to help tell your story. We are currently filling our guest lineup with the artists keeping the jazz scene alive. If you have dates booked at a local club or concert hall, let's get you on the mic to discuss your latest work. Connect with us directly. Send an email to backstage.sfbay@gmail.com. Just let us know when you'll be playing in San Francisco. That's backstage.sfbay@gmail.com.
Backstage Bay Area is dedicated to keeping jazz alive in the 415 by spotlighting the artists, presenters, and venues that sustain this music. The most meaningful way to support local jazz is simple. Show up, buy a ticket, and experience the music live. Visit BackstageBayArea.com and explore our upcoming concerts section, featuring both a weekly guide and a weekend guide to jazz shows across the region, plus the latest concert news. Thank you for keeping jazz alive in the 415.
You've been listening to the Backstage Bay Area podcast. Visit us on the web at BackstageBayArea.com. And don't forget to keep jazz alive in the 415.